All right, so part 3, it's all interior.
Okay.
We don't have a ton of being able to demonstrate because A, we don't have dirty interiors.
Got it.
Right. B, we don't have a ton of the tools. It's a lot of theory.
Okay. This is my kind of washing. I like to do like one small section, get my, get credit for it, be on camera. Now this is even better. I got someone like checking, giving me an A plus.
Looking for extra credit spots.
Makes me feel real good.
Okay, so again, we apologize as, this was just kind of put together. So we
I just want to make sure, is this, for camera purposes, is you as a recognized trainer have the freedom to, like if you were detecting that I didn't know what I was doing on something, then you would,
absolutely,
you could shut it down and say, look, you just explained how to clean a window
100%.
Completely incorrectly.
And in all reality, we saw you last week. So if the viewers don't like what they're seeing, we can always set up an interior base somewhere and go back to town. All right, so you do a lot of interior detailing?
I don't do a lot of restorative stuff, but I do keep my interior clean. I just don't eat cheeseburgers in it.
Oh, yeah.
But I've done Alcantara repair and I've done leather repair and obviously cleaning and stuff.
Sure. So what would the first steps be? So let's just say this was moderately lived in, right? So the guy is lucky enough to drive it to work in a nicer climate. What are you doing first? What's your process first?
I was vacuum first.
Okay.
I want to vac first, probably take the floor mats out, set them not in the water, but set them aside somewhere. I would vacuum. I would use a really soft vacuum bristle brush on the tip of the vacuum, so I could get into any like little pockets or cup holders and things like that. Okay. So vacuum first, then interior wipe down, so leather cleaning. And dash, wipe the dash down, stuff like that. And then the final step I would do would be glass cleaning.
Okay. So obviously we have a couple of different materials in here now. Again, Mobile Tech a couple of weeks back we had 2 trucks, right? So the trucks have a little bit more than a 2-seater Carrera GT. Okay. If you were dealing with an SUV, what are some areas that you think you would have to spend a little more time on?
In an SUV, especially as a family, I might have to remove some of the inserts of the cup holders to clean those out. You'd probably have to deal with some of the creases of the seats, kind of pushing or massaging the crease so I could get in and vacuum those out. There may be some carpet stains that could be possible.
That's later on the test.
Got it. And I would be careful. I want to make sure I'm not scratching the gauges and things like that. But if you had fabric, that's a little bit more difficult. But fabric, I would try to just surface clean it with the vacuum cleaner as much as possible.
Okay, right into stains. So this is a really hard one to actually set up, and I don't think I've seen it yet personally. Okay, you've been doing it for a couple of years now. But in theory, can you identify and talk about a tannin stain?
A tannin stain is, I believe, something to do with it's organic, like coffee. Okay. I think. I might be wrong. This might be my first thing I get wrong. I think I failed this part on the test. Yeah, I believe tannin is something that's from food, like coffee. Okay.
How would you remove it?
Shoot. I mean, I don't have an extractor, but I would assume I'd want an extractor of some sort. Okay. I could use like a carpet or textile cleaner. So since I don't have an extractor, I would probably spray it and then use a soft bristle brush to agitate. The key is I don't want to push it down, especially it's a fabric. I don't want to tamp it. I don't want to push it in. So I want to sort of superficially try to get as much off the surface as I can. Okay. So the brush would be imperative in me, gently agitating to try to get as much released as possible.
Gotcha. Right to the protein stain.
So I think I got that backwards, right? So, shoot, yeah, I did fail this on the test. Protein would be like if they got yogurt or something on it, I guess. Sure. There was a difference. Protein, I would want to use something to make sure it kills the bacteria. Okay. Whereas a tannin, I'm not as worried about bacteria. And so I do want to be careful with all-purpose cleaners, so I would probably look for something from a company that has something that clearly on the direction of the bottle told me that it would be, it would kill bacteria. And then I would use the same procedure, use a soft bristle brush, agitate, and then use microfiber towels to clean and finish removing product.
Sure. Oil-based. So you're working on that Corvette of yours.
Yeah.
And get a little bit on the back pocket. Mm-hmm. So you jump in the cloth seat of your neighbor's Camry.
Yeah, I'm screwed.
And we got that blotch.
Yeah, so I need something with a pH that would break down. So I would need something with a pH of 8 or 9 or higher in order to break down the oil to get it to release. So I would probably use an all-purpose cleaner for that and a microfiber towel. Trying again not to drive it into the surface. I want to clean it as superficially as possible.
Dye-based.
Like dye on leather.
Well, sure.
Yeah, dye transfer would need to be one of the things I would use to treat. I would try to pre-treat, so I'd try to, if I knew that I had some light seats, in order to alleviate dye transfers, I would put something on the surface of the leather, like a color lock or some other brand's leather protection that would help alleviate that. But any general like leather cleaner or fabric cleaner should allow me to, using a soft bristle brush to remove any dye transfer.
Cool.
Or most of it, hopefully.
You didn't really get them backwards.
Tannin is coffee. Mm-hmm. Protein is food of some sort.
Yogurt was a good one.
Yeah.
Coated or uncoated leather?
Mm-hmm. This? It's coated.
Can you show me a vinyl?
I don't think this car has any vinyl in it. Yeah. I would think that there's no vinyl in here. There's probably not any vinyl in any of these cars. Maybe in one of the 50th anniversary doesn't have vinyl. Maybe the GT350.
Okay.
But, yeah, this is
how would you tell?
A lot of times vinyl has heavy grain. So I mean, it's possible that this and the dash area is vinyl. I just highly doubt it on a $400,000 car. But I would tell because vinyl is generally much thinner. So this very well may be vinyl. But you can usually tell because the grain is usually a lot more porous. Because vinyl doesn't have it's two pieces. Vinyl is glued to a really thin substrate or backing piece, whereas leather is usually thicker. So this might be vinyl. I just know I've seen leather experts not sure. Vinyl can be pretty good. Mm-hmm. But it's unlikely in this car. Certainly the seats are not vinyl. I would think certainly the leather is not vinyl.
What would be another common substrate that you would see in a car like this interior?
Well, you got clear-coated carbon fiber. You have plastics. Plastics would be another common. You have wood sometimes in a high-end car like this.
What about
aluminum?
Maybe in the seat centers or the center of the steering wheel.
Alcantara could be another type of product.
It's a commonly
micro suede they call it. Yeah.
Yep. All right. So that's silver hard plastic. Mm-hmm. How would you go upon cleaning that?
Microfiber towel and an interior cleaner of some sort, just to dust it, basically.
You mentioned this earlier, but we're here. It's on the test again. Mm-hmm. The plexiglass or acrylic gauge cluster.
I would use a glass cleaner, a tint-safe glass cleaner on that, and a microfiber towel, soft towel.
The guy is driving to work in this again.
Mm-hmm.
Hits one of those potholes while drinking his Coca-Cola, mm-hmm. and off it goes into the visor and the headliner of the car. Mm-hmm. You pull the visor down, theoretically, and it is that plastic-esque vinyl. Mm-hmm. How are we cleaning the Coca-Cola off of that?
If it's vinyl, we lucked out. Then we would just use some sort of some product, some interior cleaner that has some sort of agent to combat the sugar. I just don't want the sugar, the sticky stuff. So I would probably just use a regular interior cleaner, okay. Which would generally be pH neutral.
Okay. Now into the headliner.
Mm-hmm.
You got 13 little tiny BB stains of cola.
If I had an extractor, that would be a common, that would be a place to use that. If not, I would probably use a carpet cleaner, a soft bristle brush, and then I would, sort of tamp it to try to remove the product or remove the Coca-Cola.
As even the Camrys now? we're in the world of infotainment systems, touchscreen, Bluetooth, and all that. That infotainment center, that infotainment screen. What are we doing with that?
Again, I'm using a tint-safe glass cleaner. I try to avoid that with my interior cleaner, and I'm going to use a soft microfiber towel on that. I usually use waffle weave, but just depending on, some screens are softer than others, just from experience. So you might use like a suede type towel as well, but like one that was provided with your Apple computer or something like that. But I would use a glass cleaner. I'd probably spray it on the towel, not on the screen, and then wipe all the oils and stuff off of it.
Good. Now, this one's special because we may have some actual wood in here. Well, let's think it's not. The everyday wood grain that you see, or those piano lacquered or those piano black inserts that are everywhere now. What would we do to clean those?
Yeah, I want to be careful with those because just like anything black, it tends to be softer, and so I would use my interior cleaner, and I would spray it on the towel and then wipe with zero pressure, and just I don't want to buff it out if I can help it because I don't want to scratch it, but I may polish it. Like these door jambs, I would probably polish, and then clean up.
More of the extra credit there.
I thought you said there were 3 parts. This is part 4.
Yeah, told you I'm a little rusty. It's always been 4. All right, so we're in finishing steps. All right, glass.
Okay. I'm good with glass. I'm really good with glass.
I'm a little worried about what the towels we have for you.
Yeah, you don't have the right stuff guaranteed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So talk to me. We'll go over to over here.
Where do you want to go?
Over to our product selection.
Okay.
And tell me what you would not use to clean glass.
Oh, anything but glass cleaner?
Okay.
So I wouldn't use an interior cleaner like I wouldn't use this product because this is a fabric cleaner of sorts. I wouldn't use like a sealant. I would use a glass cleaner, and I'd want to be cognizant to read the instructions and make sure it was safe on tinted glass. Glass that has window tint. I know that this one is safe, but I just want to make sure of that.
I think the viewers deserve a little hands-on.
Okay.
So let's get that bottle ready. There's a few different microfiber towels for you to pick from.
I want as low of a pile as possible for glass if I have the choice. So I don't have a choice. And I like to use 2 towels, one initial wipe, one secondary wipe. I'm gonna blaspheme here. I actually like to soak the glass down, even though it may get a little residual. And so I'm going to spray it on the glass directly. Then I'll do an initial wipe to get any excess that may have any overspray. Take my towel. This is the one area in detailing where pressure is helpful, where I will use pressure. A clean glass is how you make sure that you're not streaking, or not streaking, fogging. There's some tools like for the windshield that I would use. Stoner's makes an invisible glass tool that I would use for this windshield so I can get in the cracks and crevices. I'm good, I must say. So interior, exterior would be the same. That's the process. So use a glass cleaner.
Check. I just didn't want you to get all sorts of comments that you're scared of
You
glass.
gotta pass. You gotta pass.
You're scared of glass.
You gotta pass because you're on camera. No passes.
Let's talk about some other exterior treatments that may be applied in your finishing stages. So plastic trim. It's going to be hard to find on here, I think. But you wanted a Carrera GT for your test.
So plastic trim here.
Okay.
Nope, that's metal. No, it's plastic. Plastic trim for me, I would clean, generally pre-clean with like an all-purpose cleaner or like a rubber cleaner of some sort. And so I would clean it with a brush just to pre-clean it, and then I coat it. So I would coat plastic with, take your pick. And then from there, I really don't need to dress it. I would just coat it every so often. I may use my drying aid that I use on the painted surface on that stuff.
Okay.
I do tires as well.
Let's just say that we find out that the emblems on the center lock are bare metal. They look to be from here. Would you do anything to possibly protect that?
Yeah, you could use some sort of metal protectant of some sort, like a there's some companies that make like a metal coating of some sort that keeps it from rusting over. But yeah, I would treat that so it wouldn't rust over.
Any exterior rubber seals?
Same thing. I would have those coated. I'd have those cleaned, once a year or so with an all-purpose cleaner or an isopropyl alcohol of some sort, and then I would coat those as well. You could treat those with a dressing. I generally don't because I like the matte look from a coating. Like I would coat that wiper blade arm so it didn't look so kind of dry like it looks now.
Okay. Now back to your beloved tires. We all know what you're going to do first.
Yeah, denib.
And then
when I first get my tires, just like I would paint, I would prepare them, and so I clean them with either mineral spirits or I use Stoner's Terminator to clean the tires to get any like the soap from mounting and balancing off. Then I denib them, and then I would use a non-solvent based silicone tire dressing of some sort, and I would dress using a foam block.
That's right. They're going to hate you on this one, but that's fine.
Right.
You don't do this, quote, professionally.
Okay.
Before you were going to deliver this to the customer, what are some things that you would look for or want to double check or make sure that they're not going to get home and call you and be like, hey, Matt, like you missed blank?
I would open up all the doors, open up the hood, open up the trunk, check all the jams, make sure they were all cleaned out. I'd make sure the tires were dressed. That's one thing you could forget at the end. I would double check the interior, make sure I put the floor mats back in, make sure I flip the sun visors back up. I would put anything back in the glove box, in the center console, in case I took any documents out to clean. I would have kept them on a table on the side, put those back where they belong, check, make sure I didn't move the garage door opener. There's an E-pass in this car of some sort, so make sure that's there. And then obviously to inspect the car, I'd pull the car out in the sunlight, inspect the car, make sure there wasn't any polish residue or any trim dressing or anything, any smears. And then glass, I want to make sure the glass is really clean. So I'm going to inspect the glass. I'm going to look from the driver's side and the passenger side, make sure I didn't leave any fingerprints or any smears or anything like that behind.
And you're going to charge them what for this?
A lot. Maybe 10 grand. I'm going to charge them enough so that I would never have to do it.
And that, my friend, is the Skill Certified Detailer examination hands-on portion.
Okay. So how do I know what the score is? I'll get it in the mail?
Well, we could go sit down and talk about it.
So generally speaking, back to scene is set, we're back to real life, Matt and Eric, right? So no longer student and teacher.
Sure.
So you would, as the person that's the recognized trainer, you're gonna not tell the person they passed or failed?
We always sit down and talk about it.
You do? Got it.
Sure. And then I take everything and I submit it to the IDA, where that goes on file with them.
Yep.
So if you go on the website, there's a whole list of obviously costs, right? Trade associations aren't free.
Correct.
So it is a little bit of a pay to play, but that's okay.
It's $100 or it's I think it's $150 to be a member, and you get discounts. It was $200 to take the CD test if you're a member. It's $200 to do this.
Correct.
And then you have $100 annual, renew fee. If you're a member, $200 if you're not.
Yep. So you did talk about earlier about keeping your certifications kind of live and active.
Yeah.
So you go to Mobile Tech quite a bit. That's kind of the IDA show for the year.
Yeah.
That's an easy way to get involved, to check things out, to meet everyone who's in the organization, sit through the awards banquet, potentially look at being on the board, being a little more influential.
Yeah.
All right, so on and so forth. But the other way, for people who don't travel as much or they're just busy in their shops, is they do host a good amount of webinars.
Yeah,
so
online,
So there is a categorized section of webinars that is full of valuable information. So a couple of benefits is by going through this, we used to use the term professional detailer, and we just kind of throwing it around. Being part of a trade association getting certified, passing your tests, it's another step in what would be your professional career. So like you mentioned, you had all those letters from your past career. I had some letters in front of my name from my past career, and we had to go through and prove ourselves. We had to prove our knowledge. A lot of it was proving hands-on, so on and so forth. So that's really where this came from. So this is all about if a customer is going to go to a shop, it could just be an IDA certified shop. That's your first step. Those are your basics, right?
Yeah.
So then if the detailer, if the hands-on technician wants to have that extra level, not really just to separate themselves from competition, but just so that the customer has that belief in what they're doing, they become the certified detailer or the CD.
Got it.
Now, what we did today.
Right.
So now it's not, I took the test, right? And maybe I phoned a friend, or maybe,
Right.
There's different ways to take tests, especially if it's on a computer.
Yeah.
Right? So you can do that like you did, or you can go to a CD in a day event. Which is extremely valuable. I've taught it many times. It is pretty much a little bit more than a half a day, but you are learning everything, right? So
you're not just taking the test, you're taking the test after
sitting,
the course.
after being in the course or the class, right? So even when I first went, I learned some stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, tannin versus, we
and it's
talk about
commonly confused.
Yeah, some of these words, those are words that you don't use in normal. But it reminds you of school, and things that they use that aren't really used in real life.
Correct. Well, that, a lot of the old school's still around.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of the acids, they're still sold every day. When I came up, 2010 or so, I was lucky enough to never really learn that way. So I was always learning with the newer stuff.
Yeah.
But the older stuff's still around. So a lot of guys who are trying to learn and grow, and maybe they're in a dealership that's buying from a distributor who comes by like a Snap-on truck, a detail.
Yeah.
They may be getting access to a super hard, bug brick.
Yeah.
Or a bug brick on a pole, which would make us cringe.
Wheel
acid and all that kind of stuff, right? So that gets them, and then I learned, right, all about actual acids through the CD in a day.
Yeah.
When I went through it. And that was super valuable to me, because then I can go in and talk to people about selecting the right product.
Yeah.
So the CD in a day is great, and then at the end you take the test. As long as you pass, you're good to go. And then again, the next step, what we did here.
And you as a trainer can kind of feel it out. Like if I'm fumbling around, some of those little things that I'm throwing out, I would guess you would help you tell, well, this guy knows what he's talking about, or he's tried this before. Whereas if somebody looks at a pressure washer and never used a pressure washer, didn't know how to put a grit guard in a bucket, that'll start to be a red flag for maybe you. How much coaching can you do as a RT?
So in the training, that's what we're here for.
Right.
In the test, it's a different story. So,
so afterward, if you fail them, you could go and sit down with them.
Absolutely.
So theoretically, you and I would go sit down, you'd go through this and say, look, these are some of the things you're going to want to do some more research on. And then you might be able to provide some resources on where they could go and learn some more.
So perfect example, it wasn't wrong, but it could be considered controversial, was the extractor on the headliner. Right?
Yeah.
So, knowing you quite a bit and knowing your background, it's not wrong.
Right.
But if you were doing it hands-on, and let's just say you grab that hot water extractor, and let's just say it was loaded with some sort of citrus-based cleaner, and you just sat there and soaked the headliner.
Right, you ruin the adhesive and the headliner comes down.
It's wrong.
Yeah.
But if you did what you were talking about and then just went to use the extractor to extract out that stain, extract out what was in there, it would be 100% right. Right. So a lot of it is, there is that almost artistic license for the trainer.
Sure.
Right. To look at what they're doing. And again, if time allowed and we were set up in, a production detail shop, not this beautiful bay here.
Right.
We could have spent half a day working through all that.
Yeah.
But I don't think, honestly, anybody should have to go through that if the feeling is that they're set in what they do.
Right. So if I didn't know, like if you had asked me, well, how would you take care of glass? And I walked over there and I didn't know what to do.
Correct.
You would make me clean the whole glass of the whole car.
Correct.
While I'm going through to demonstrate that I knew what I was doing.
Or if I was watching you and let's just say, you didn't recognize the window was tinted. You didn't read the bottle. You didn't talk about it. And you just started going to town different.
Got it.
If you went in there and you completely missed the corner, or you weren't paying attention to the edges, or you sat in the car and you close the door for some reason.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you do that a few times.
Sure.
And then we're going to go back, and that's that learning experience.
Gotcha. And if you did 50 of those things on this test, then you're not going to get a pass.
Correct.
If you did 2, then those are areas at the end you can kind of coach up.
Correct.
Just kind of to give people an idea of what to expect.
Sure.
When they're going, and let's say, because I would love to have done something like this right from the very beginning. I never touched a car and I'm 17 years old. I mean, this is what it would really be great for.
Yep,
you probably won't pass. You probably won't know the answers to a lot of things.
Sure.
Unless you just watch a lot of videos.
I mean, imagine if you wanted to be a mixed martial artist and you just ran in the ring to fight some guy.
So
it wouldn't work out too well.
So what about the argument that I didn't prove to you that I can bring the paint to a mirror finish, to a perfect, like I didn't prove to you that I could remove defects and make it perfect. What would the argument be for those folks who are kind of cranky that I could get a pass by talking theoretically about detailing?
Sure. So there's theory and there's real world, right? Mm-hmm. So to me, as a trainer, the theory is a big piece of the battle, if you will, right?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, and we see it at every place we go to, someone can do it better, right? And the people who usually think or know or say that they can do it better may be phenomenal technicians until that one car shows up.
Yeah.
And if you don't understand the theory behind what we're doing, the why, I don't care how good you are with the machine, you're not going to do it better. Yeah, I mean, Jason Rose actually, he proved that to me.
Well, it reminds me it's very similar to, like, I was a certified financial planner.
Sure.
But they didn't teach me how to buy mutual funds.
No.
They didn't teach me how to build a stock portfolio. But I did learn about the practical application of why I'm doing what I'm doing and what it's about and how to, how to craft a plan. But it didn't teach me how to do, like, it didn't certify that I knew how to buy those things or do the doing.
Sure.
And so I think, to me, because I know the feedback from a lot of guys that they're going to say, well, that's a waste of time, it's a waste of money. But to me, knowing the answers to these things is a solid base, and it's something that I could market myself with to just show, hey, I've at least pursued some of the theory, some of the knowledge. It's not the end all be all to say I'm a great detailer, and that's very subjective even in and of itself.
And your customers will find out real fast.
Yeah, so I think that would be the argument from great detailers that wouldn't want to pay the few $100 to have this. I would argue that pursuing knowledge is never a bad thing.
Sure.
And so, hopefully I pass the test, and we'll find out in the mail when I get my SV.
So some people, right, look at it as it's just a piece of paper on the wall, right? And that's not the case, because if they stopped and they thought about the experience and what they learned along the way, right? So we train detailers every month. 20% or so, they're in guys, some girls in their 30s. They've never flown before.
Yeah.
Right? So there's something with the experience of that. So to be able to talk to your customer and let them know that it's not just a piece of paper on the wall, right? That they they went after it.
Yeah, they sought it out. They were looking for personal development and improvement. That's what gets me fired up about it. That's why I was so adamant that when I get my SV, I want to do it on camera. I want to share it with people. I'll take the heat for that. And because I think it's a value. Sure. I think it's a value no matter what you're doing or what business you're in. And I'm glad the IDA exists in order to, I'm assuming it's going to evolve in the future. And I'd encourage anybody. It certainly can't hurt you.
Nope. And the more people that have that attitude or mentality, the better it's going to be.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I've watched it go up and down, up and down, up and down, depending on the climate that's out there.
Yeah.
And when everyone's really positive and growing together, it's always a better time.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, sir.
Cool. Thank you.
Appreciate it. So anyway, that's the process for going through. That was my real test. So that was really what you would go through. Of course, Eric has the ability to be subjective on whether I needed to get hands-on. Do I need to finish the car? Or am I demonstrating, enough aptitude to where he would make me take a step back? And so, a couple of questions trip me up. Tannin versus what's the other one? Protein, biological. I was just trying to remember which was which. So that's kind of exactly what you would go through there's 4 different steps or 4 phases of the test. And then, if you didn't have the answers, you couldn't share how to do it. I guess what you could do, you could use this as a study guide, so that way when someone's grilling you on it, and maybe some testers may be harder to deal with than others, but I think if you show up prepared, then you have a better chance of passing. And then once you pass, it's not going to change your life, but it certainly isn't going to make it any worse. So thanks to the IDA for putting this thing together. Thanks to Merit for letting us work on a Carrera GT. That's pretty cool. And I'll find out in a few weeks if I passed. I think I did okay. Catch you on the next one.